If you are the black sheep of your family, this is the most important video you will ever watch. There's a crazy chance that your family secretly picked you to carry all of their problems and their baggage. You were given a role you never wanted, a role that kept them stable but was absolutely destroying you. This isn't just about how much it sucked. This is about showing you the truth. We're going to dive into the insane psychology, and I'm going to show you exactly why your family needed you to take on all their shame, fear, and secrets, just to keep a broken system from falling apart. Section 1. The weight of an unspoken role. Before we get into the insane way this works, let's just admit how awful this experience is. For the scapegoat, your reality is constantly denied, and the first step to fixing that is having someone finally see and believe you. You know the feeling. It's that constant sense that you are the reason everything is going wrong. You're the black sheep, the one who's always too much, but also not good enough. It's that insane feeling of being blamed for fights you didn't start and for problems that were there before you were even born. They give you a label: the difficult one, the troublemaker, the sensitive one. It's an experience that makes you feel completely alone. You see your siblings get praised for doing the exact same things you get punished for. You watch your family create a whole story around how you're the failure, because it's easier than admitting their own truths. You have a normal human reaction to a crazy, toxic environment, and they use it as a reason to punish you. You say you're hurt, and they call you manipulative. You get angry about something unfair, and they say you have anger issues. You try to tell the truth, and they accuse you of starting a fight. And the craziest part? A little voice inside you starts to believe them. Years of this can break anyone, leaving you with a disgusting feeling of shame and an inner critic that sounds just like their voices. But I'm telling you, this role was never about who you are. It was about what your family needed. There's a concept called the identified patient. This is the person the family points to and says, they're the one with the problem. They're the one who gets sent to therapy, the one blamed for everyone being unhappy. But what we know is that this person is almost always just the symptom of a much bigger, broken family system. You weren't the problem. You were the dumpster they threw the problem into. Your role, as terrible as it was, had a twisted but critical job to keep everything balanced and stop your family from having to look at their own garbage. Section 2. The family shadow. Unpacking the why. To understand why a family creates a scapegoat, we have to talk about this insane idea called the shadow. The shadow is basically all the parts of ourselves that we hide because we're ashamed or scared of them. It's our anger, our jealousy, our fears, and all our biggest insecurities. Everyone has a shadow, and a good life means being brave enough to look at that darkness so it doesn't secretly control you. Now, imagine that for a whole family. A family, especially one with a lot of secrets or bad history, creates a collective family shadow. This is all the unspoken secrets, the ungrieved deaths, the hidden addictions, and the buried anger that everyone feels but agrees not to talk about. It's the huge, dark elephant in the room that everyone pretends they can't see. A broken family is terrified of its own shadow. If they faced it, they'd have to admit that the parents failed, that the marriage is a wreck, or that there's a history of abuse. It would shatter the perfect image of a normal, happy family they've built. The cost of facing that shadow is just too high. So, the family does what a single person does. It points its finger at someone else. It finds one person, a single family member, and dumps all of its darkness, all of its unwanted baggage onto them. This is where you came in. You became the scapegoat, the living container for the family's shadow. All the rage they couldn't admit to was thrown on you, and they called you angry. All the shame they couldn't face was put on you, and they called you the screw-up. All the fear and weakness they couldn't handle was transferred to you, and they called you too sensitive. You literally became everything your family hated about itself. Section 3. The mechanics of betrayal. How they did it. So how does this even happen? How does a family that says they love you pick one person for this insane, soul-crushing job? It's not usually a big evil plan. It happens with these sneaky, powerful mind games that nobody even realizes are happening. Point 1. Projective identification. The psychic transfer. The main engine for this is a crazy process called projective identification. It's like a magic trick from hell. First is the projection. A family member, usually a parent, feels something they can't stand about themselves, like they're a total failure or they're full of rage. They can't handle it, so they do a slick move. They split that feeling off and decide it's inside you. They stop seeing their own failure and start seeing you as the failure, you as the one full of rage. The second stage is the most messed up, induction. With their tone, their words, and how they treat you, they push you and pressure you to actually become what they're projecting. They treat you like you're broken, constantly asking, "What's wrong with you?" or saying, "You've always been like this." This is extreme psychological manipulation. Over time, you start to believe it and you start acting it out. Imagine a dad who is terrified of being weak. He was taught that men have to be tough and hide their feelings. He has a son who is naturally sensitive. The father hates this because it reminds him of the weakness he buried in himself. So he projects. He calls his son a crybaby. He relentlessly makes fun of him for being sensitive. After years of this, the son either shuts down his emotions completely or develops massive anxiety. The father then points at him and says, "See, I knew something was wrong with him." He gets to feel strong because he successfully put his weakness onto his son. This is the twisted trick of projective identification. Point 2. Shadow projection. You became what they hated in themselves. This is when the family doesn't just give you one feeling, they give you their entire secret identity. Think about the labels you were given. Every single accusation was really a confession. Were you called selfish? You were probably in a family where just having your own needs was seen as a betrayal. Your desire to have your own life showed them how trapped they felt, so they had to make your independence seem like a crime. Were you called dramatic or chaotic? It's almost certain you were the only one having a sane reaction to the insane chaos that was already there. Your feelings were just the alarm bell warning of a hurricane everyone else was ignoring. To keep ignoring it, they had to break the alarm. Were you called the rebel? It's probably because your spirit wouldn't completely bend to the family's toxic, unspoken rules. You asked questions, and in a family that runs on silence, a question is a bomb. You reminded them of the freedoms they gave up, and they couldn't stand to look at you. They punished you over and over for being a mirror. Your existence forced them to see the parts of themselves they threw into the dark, and they decided to shatter the mirror instead of looking at their own reflection. Section 4. The scapegoat selection. Why was it you? This brings us to the most painful question ever. Why me? If there were other people, why was I picked for this role? And the answer will blow your mind. You weren't chosen because you were weak or flawed. In many cases, you were chosen because you were strong. Point 3. You were the truth teller. More than anything, the kid who gets turned into the scapegoat is the one who is the most emotionally aware, the most empathetic, and has the strongest sense of justice. From day one, you could feel the tension in the room. You noticed the difference between what your parents said and what they did. You were the one who remembered everything, the broken promises and the fights that the family pretended never happened. You were the family's unofficial historian, holding on to the truths everyone else wanted to delete. In a family built on secrets, a truth teller isn't a hero. They are a massive threat. A system that needs silence will always punish the person who dares to speak. Your honest questions: why is Dad so angry? Why do we act like that didn't happen? Were like earthquakes threatening to bring the whole house down. The family couldn't handle your truth, so they had to destroy your credibility. By labeling you as the problem or the liar, they could ignore everything you saw. The scapegoat role was their defense against the truth you represented. Point 4. You were the receptacle for generational trauma. There are other factors too. Sometimes a kid is picked just because they remind a parent of a part of themselves they hate, or of someone from their past, a sibling they hated, or an abusive parent of their own. This dysfunction doesn't come from nowhere. It's a legacy passed down for generations. Your parents were probably carrying their own massive wounds. They might have been scapegoats themselves, or grew up with neglect or abuse. In a way, the job was waiting for someone before you were even born. The family system had a job opening for a problem child to dump all its history of pain onto. You weren't just chosen for who you were. You were chosen because there was a role that had to be filled. You became the lightning rod for pain that started generations before you. Section 5. The system's logic. The illusion of peace. From the outside, this is senseless and cruel. But inside the twisted logic of a broken family, scapegoating is a survival strategy. It's the superglue holding the shattered family together. Point 5. Maintaining a toxic homeostasis. Every family, like any system, wants to stay balanced and keep things the same. This is called homeostasis. In a healthy family, this is done with flexibility and talking things out. In a broken family, the balance is toxic. The balance is kept with strict, unspoken rules. We don't talk about the drinking. We pretend Mom is happy. We never ever question the official story. This balance is incredibly fragile, and your role was everything. By putting all the family's negativity and blame on you, the system kept its toxic balance. You became the reason for everything. Is Mom unhappy? It's because you're so difficult. Is the marriage failing? It's because the stress of dealing with you is tearing them apart. You became the ultimate excuse for the family's dysfunction. You soaked up all the random anxiety and shame, which let everyone else feel normal, or even like they were the good guys by comparison. You were sacrificed for their fake peace. Your pain was the price for their comfort. Point 6. Why speaking up never worked. This explains why every time you tried to be honest or fix things, you were punished even more. Why didn't anyone listen when you told the truth? Because listening to you would have meant the entire family system would have to change. Admitting you were right would have forced them to look at their own shadow, the one thing the system is built to avoid. Admitting your pain would mean admitting they caused it, and they couldn't handle that shame. So instead, they programmed you with guilt. They trained you to feel responsible for their feelings. When you dared to speak a hard truth, They'd give you the silent treatment, teaching you that telling the truth leads to being abandoned. They'd call you cruel or selfish, twisting your attempt to be healthy into an attack on the family. Over time, this training works. You learn that silence is safe and truth is a trap. You start to believe you really are the problem, confusing their insane programming for reality. Section 6. The turn. From victim to victor. If you're watching this and you feel that horrible, deep ache of recognition, I want you to stop, take a breath, and hear this. This was never your fault. The role they forced on you has nothing to do with your value. It says nothing about who you are. In fact, being chosen as the scapegoat is the world's most twisted compliment to your inner strength. The exact qualities that made you a target are actually your greatest superpowers, and it's time to take them back. Your sensitivity, which they called a weakness, is actually your incredible emotional intelligence. Your hunger for truth, which they called starting drama, is a sign of your unbelievable integrity and courage. Your rebellion, which they called defiance, was the only sane response to a completely insane environment. It was the proof that your spirit refused to be crushed. In a family of people lying to themselves, you were the one who couldn't or wouldn't go along with the fake reality. You were the designated cycle breaker, even if you didn't know it. The scapegoat is often the one who has the biggest potential to grow, because you're the only one who was forced to live outside the lie. Section 7. The path forward. Reclaiming your story. So what do you do now? How do you win this? Healing is a hostile takeover of your own story. It starts with you grabbing the pen and becoming the only author of your life story. Step 1. Awareness and naming. This is the first and most important stage, and you're in it right now. You have to see what happened and call it what it was. Scapegoating, projection, emotional abuse. Get a journal and start writing down the memories. Write down the difference between what really happened and the story they told you. This is how you separate their crazy reality from yours. Step 2. Rejecting the projections. To heal, you have to make a choice to put down the weight of their crap. Imagine it. Literally see yourself handing it back to them. You don't have to fight them. This is something you do inside yourself. But this has to be backed up by insane boundaries. Boundaries might mean limiting contact, taking space after they try to pull you back in, or in some cases, making the hard but freeing choice to go no contact. A boundary is you saying, I am no longer the dumpster for your garbage. Your feelings are your problem, not mine. Step 3. Integrating your own shadow. Because you were forced to be the bad one, you probably had to hide your best qualities to survive. Maybe you were called selfish for having needs, so you learned to have none. Maybe you were called angry, so you buried your own power. Healing is giving yourself permission to reclaim all these parts of you. Therapy can be a huge help here, giving you a safe place to find out who you are under all the junk they piled on you. Step 4. Reparenting yourself. The scapegoat never got what they needed from their parents. You didn't get the love and acceptance you deserved. The healing journey is about you becoming the wise, kind, and fiercely protective parent to yourself that you always needed. It means learning to talk to yourself with kindness. When that old critical voice pops up, the one that sounds just like them, you learn to shut it down with a new, stronger voice. You build an inner bodyguard who says, "That's not my voice, that's their garbage, and I'm not carrying it anymore." I know this journey is incredibly lonely because the original wound was being completely isolated. But I want you to look around this digital space. You are not alone. I want this comment section to be a place where you can finally be seen. If you feel up to it, share which part of this video hit you the hardest. You don't have to write a novel. Just a simple comment like, "Point 3 was my entire life," or "Projective identification just explained everything," is a huge act of power. Reading each other's experiences is the ultimate weapon against gaslighting. It's all of us together, yelling that this is real, that you are not crazy, and that your reality is true. Let's blow up this comment section and create a massive space of understanding. You were chosen to be the family scapegoat, not because you were weak, but because you had an insane, truth-telling strength that your broken family couldn't handle. Their need to dump their shadow on you says everything about their problems and their wounds, and it says nothing about your true value. Healing is the long, insane challenge of putting down the burden of shame, blame, and secrets that were never yours to carry in the first place. It is the slow and steady, hostile takeover of your own story, your own identity, and your own life. And you have to realize this. The family scapegoat is almost always the one who gets out, the one who figures it out, the one who heals, and ultimately, the one who breaks the generational curse. Your story doesn't end with you being the scapegoat. That was just the insane first challenge on the journey to becoming your strongest, most authentic self.